Full disclosure here, I went into this movie fully expecting it to be bad. Like, just straight up bad. The kind of bad film that's still enjoyable to watch. And I can say that, well, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a fantastic piece of cinema either, but it was enjoyable nonetheless, especially as a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. I grew up with the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. I was a junior in high school when the series began, and I remember following the news of the games and their releases, watching all of Game Theory's videos on the increasingly complicated lore, watching Pymation's parodies, and watching Markiplier play the games. After Sister Location, I petered off and stopped caring. I didn't read the books or play any of the games myself, but I was always on the outskirts of the series, looking into the fandom and remembering the humble beginnings. I listened to lots of fan music, my favorites being Join Us for a Bite and Five Nights at Freddy's, both by The Living Tombstone, the finale by Nate Wants to Battle, and Stay Calm by Griffinilla. To see how far the series has come has been fun to watch, and seeing the series culminate in a movie is awesome. I wasn't going to watch this movie originally since I felt pretty lukewarm towards it, but I figured why not, it could be fun. So before I continue, I want to say that this video will contain full spoilers for the movie. So, go watch it first and then watch my video, or if you just don't care. So, let's get started. The movie was overall enjoyable, like I said. Before watching the movie, I had seen that the film got low scores on rating sites, and I personally felt the movie was going to be awful, given the historical track record of video game movie adaptations. With some exceptions like Dungeons & Dragons, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and the two Sonic movies. But the film exceeded my admittedly low expectations. If you're a fan of the series, this movie is for you. It contains a number of Easter eggs and references, such as Balloon Boy, the digitized voice spelling out "Save Them," the opening credits having visuals that mimic the death minigames from the second game, Springtrap twitching like the end of the third game, the children's laughters, and even some cameos. MatPat shows up! I squealed a bit when I saw him, and he even says, "Well, that's just a theory." It was so good. I'm a bit bummed that Markiplier wasn't in it, but that was due to scheduling conflicts. That's too bad. The movie has to do a lot of lifting in regards to fleshing out Mike Schmidt and any empty space, which I think they did an okay job. I'm not too versed on the lore, but we don't really know much of Mike in the first game, so they give him a backstory since they don't have much to work off of. Something I loved about Mike's characterization is his struggle to overcome and move past his grief. In the movie, his brother Garrett was kidnapped and seemingly murdered by the purple guy. He already struggles with finding a job and taking care of his sister after his mother died and his father abandoned them. Mike spends a ton of mental energy dwelling on Garrett's death. He constantly has dreams of the day his brother was taken, replaying it over and over and over in his head. And it shows just how racked he is with grief. He makes it a point that he wishes he could go back and change the events, be more vigilant, more attentive, more careful, anything to save his brother. But he can't. He can't change the past. It's really sad. I imagine that's what it's like for parents, heck, even people who lost a loved one and were helpless to do anything about it. I imagine people replaying that moment over and over in their head, obsessing over what they could have done differently, wishing they could just go back and do something, anything, to get their loved one back. Again, it's really sad. You really see how messed up Mike is because of it. That really got me thinking in regards to the movie and franchise as a whole. The movie does a great job of really demonstrating just how dark this series is. The movie was a lot more violent than I thought it would be. We see the poor security guard in the beginning get killed by the animatronics, we see delinquents who break into the pizzeria and get mauled by them. William Afton straight up stabs his daughter with a knife. Heck, Mike's sister's babysitter, Max, gets chomped in half by Freddy. Though, it took so much energy for me to not say out loud,
"Was that the bite of 87?
I realize that the series is wildly popular and has been for the past decade, but I think the copious, insurmountable amount of memes and jokes and internet humor that the series is now associated with, such as and Five Nights at Freddy, really buries the horrific nature underneath. The series, at its core, is about horror, and you realize that these animatronics are possessed by the ghosts of children who were murdered. They're angry and vengeful, rightfully bitter that their lives were snuffed out prematurely. They attack and eventually leave William Afton to die in the springlock suit, the man who took their lives. That, on top of Mike trying to cope with the death of his brother, it's some really heavy stuff, man. Another thing, I thought the set and animatronics were well made. The whole set reminds me of the Chuck E. Cheese's I went to growing up, which makes sense given that the series would be inspired by the establishment. The animatronics looked fantastic. The way they moved and the sound design associated with them were incredible. You could really hear the heavy machinery operating them. Side note, a really funny moment happened after I saw the film. I got home and all the lights were off because my family was already sleeping. I walked into the living room and I hear my youngest brother whisper, "Hi," to me from the darkness, since his room is nearby. Man, I was fully ready to see Freddy's eyes in the dark and hear his song. There really isn't much else for me to say. Like I said, it's not some piece of high cinema, but if you're a fan of the series, go watch and enjoy it yourself. Take part in the celebration of the series and what Scott Cawthon has created. And that's gonna be it for me. A simple video detailing my thoughts on the film. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out some of my other videos. Take care, and have yourself a damn good one.